Okay, welcome back. So, like I just said at the end of my last video, this is going to basically be a sort of overview of what you get in this box. So, Maladum. This is obviously the Kickstarter edition, so I'll try and point out the extra stuff that you get in comparison to what would be the normal retail version. Now obviously we're getting some shine off it because it's still got its plastic on, so we're going to start straight away by opening it up, and I'm actually just going to open it up by literally just cutting the bottom part of the plastic off. Or attempt to, anyway. Don't know if that'll actually work. And last cut. Okay. Excellent. That went pretty well. Turn it back round. Now I don't know if you're like me, but I'm going to try and get that Kickstarter exclusive sticker off that plastic if I can later and stick it to the front of the box. I always do that with my my exclusive Blu-rays as well. I always try and get the exclusive stickers off the plastic and stick them onto the actual film. Right, so this is in typical style, a very or fairly airtight box, so it's always difficult to get the lid off. There we go. And of course, again in classic, let's actually raise the camera a little bit. So in classic Battle Systems style, the first thing we come across is the neoprene mat. These are 2x2. So let's just get that out of the way for a second. So as you can see, it's a really decently detailed neoprene mat. It's a little bit thinner than it was on the last previous sort of attempts. They're always sort of trying to get better quality. You can see that it's gridded, and it's a really nice mat. They're always really good, the Battle Systems mats. So you can see this kind of, you can use this obviously for other things as well. You can use this for just like a fantasy landscape if you wanted. Now obviously if you get the terrain pack, you're going to have two of these, so you can have a double setup, which is something that's always a lot of fun. You know, I've got a similar sort of situation with my, I think with both my Core Space and Firstborn, I've both got the terrain sets, so I always have the ability to have two of these mats and have the ability to make the 4x4 maps if I want. And I have actually played a Core Space 4x4 map, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, sometimes you struggle trying to get to the places you want to go to in the time that you've got on the threat counter, but you just kind of house rule it. So, like when I think when I played my game, it started off at the bottom, but it wouldn't actually start kicking off until you did something in particular, you know, and that kind of gave you the extra time that still made it difficult, but made it possible. Okay, so here we have the box. So as you can see, now if you're new to Battle Systems games, these particular bits here, which a lot of people may not know what they are, but they're basically like a sort of a lattice that go into the bottom of the box that allows you to use your box as a kind of storage. So it's possible to fit all of your components, especially from the more so the retail version of the game more so than the Kickstarter, but it allows you to be able to fit everything back into the box, and it kind of gives you a storage system, and it works really well. I mean, I haven't got obviously I've got a lot more terrain and a lot more furniture than's needed for like your basic sort of box with core space, so I ended up putting my furniture into a 4-litre really useful box, but I still keep all my walls and clips and character boards and all that sort of stuff using the lattice in my core space original box. Now obviously for Firstborn I haven't actually done anything with it, so that's all still boxed. Let's carry on. So obviously you get a whole bunch of resealable bags for putting your counters and stuff in. This again is a classic Battle Systems thing that they do. We have the range rulers. Now these are a new design, first used during Core Space, the Firstborn, sorry, where they came up with this clear design. Originally they were sort of cardboard, so you couldn't see through them, and now obviously these are Maladum inspired by having the arrow on rather than sort of a laser blast. But these basically give you your short, medium and long range. This is your counter bag, and now this was actually updated from what was originally going to be included. It was originally going to be like a normal, smaller bag, and due to the massive Kickstarter that they got, I think it was like 181% fulfilled. They upgraded the bag to a much bigger one, and it's got like a gusseted bottom, and it's a really nice little bag, and you can obviously use it for dice and stuff like that if you want, but the main reason it's used for is for storing, for blindly picking your equipment counters when you're searching for things. And this is, really nice. It's big enough for you to just stick your hand in and pull something out, rather than having to pick the bag up and hold it, and you sort of stick your 3 or 4 fingers in to try and grab something. So that was a really nice little upgrade. Next up, we have this is kind of like your tray of miniatures, basically. We'll go for that next. So this, they've actually for the first time put like a plastic lid on it. They didn't on the Kickstarter on the Firstborn, but here let's just actually get rid of that plastic lid. It's nice, it's loose and not stuck on. And we'll have a little look at the miniatures here. So these, I've got to say, these guys look amazing. They are kind of sort of like an in-between, like hard and soft plastic. The sculpting is amazing, but obviously you still get the odd problem of the slightly bent, the odd slightly bent staff or the odd slightly bent sword, which obviously you could just do a bit of hot water treatment on to sort of sort out. So here we have your sort of Revenant, your basic Revenant. These are the guys that are equivalent to the sort of level 1 Purge, and they're kind of zombie-ish. The artwork kind of makes them look sort of like a reddy grey, which is probably what I'm going to go for myself. I'll probably try and stick to the artwork for them. So that is kind of like, that's the level 1. Now obviously all these guys are individual sculpts. That was one of the Kickstarter things, and there we have the weird sort of mutant doggy. Well, I suppose it's not a dog really, is it? It's kind of like a spawny thing. I think that's the 3rd level enemy, and then we have the 2nd level bad guys. These are these things here. I can't remember the names of them offhand, but when we get to the threat board, I'll be able to tell you. So these guys are this sort of 2nd level enemy. Again, you get 3 of them, and they're all in different poses again. So these guys are Obviously these guys are a bit tougher, and they've obviously got weapons, so perhaps they're more deadly as well. And then you have, I think, so you have this thing called the Rock Troll, which is this thing here. It's a massive miniature, and you only get one of these, and that's in the board game, so presumably you don't come across this guy that often. No doubt, obviously, because he looks like he's bad news. So that is the Rock Troll. And then you have the actual, sort of like the ultimate bad guy. I'm not sure, I can't remember what he's called. Let me find him, actually. Here he is. Could be called, I don't know what he's called, actually. Kind of the Lich, or the Necromancer, or something like that. He's like the ultimate bad guy, and again, you only get one of him in the actual board game. So presumably, he's a person in his own right, and not a type of bad guy. Like the Chosen from Core Space. Or was that from Firstborn? I'm not sure. Getting the two mixed up. But yeah, a really nice miniature. And they've really improved. Every time they've brought out a game, the characters, the quality of figure improves as they get used to their sculpting. And I think, I seem to remember the guy saying that they've kind of got to the stage now where they've basically nailed the technique. You know, they know the perfect scale to sculpt the miniatures to allow for the shrinkage that you get when they're sort of formed into the sort of plastic. So let's go into a quick look at the characters here. Now, obviously, I haven't got names for the characters offhand, but you basically get 7 characters in total. So here we have, I presume, some kind of magic user. Now again, I'm not 100% sure of the classes that are available, but he looks pretty decent. And these guys are in a kind of tan brown plastic. The Revenant are in a kind of grey plastic, and then the Wandering Monsters are in a red. Then we have this. This guy is actually probably my least liked character. He's kind of like an orcish type guy. He's obviously not an orc. He's obviously an alien race, but he's very orc-like, both in his facial features and sort of the design of his weapons. I'm not a massive fan of orcs, so he's definitely not one of my favourite characters for sure. But you can imagine that he's obviously some kind of tanky type character. So that is the sort of orc character. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful miniature, but it's just not my cup of tea, really. Then we have this character here, who's I think it's a guy. So this is kind of, he's got a sword and a pistol, which is kind of cool. Looks like a flintlock pistol. So perhaps he's kind of like a scout or something, or I don't know. Like I say, I don't really know the different classes yet, but quite a nice miniature. He's kind of got his cloak right up over his face, so he hasn't really got much of a face showing. Looks like he's got a couple of swords on his back, sort of almost elvenish looking sort of swords. Obviously, there's no elves as such, but there is a race that kind of resembles elves, but they've actually got green skin. But this is actually a human, so. But quite cool to see that they've got flintlock technology for their weapons, and they actually appear a lot darker brown on camera than they are in the flesh. So that is the first human. Then we have yet another alien. Oh, actually, there's another human female here. So this, I presume this character is maybe some kind of, like, perhaps a healer or a cleric. She's got a sort of a pole arm with a spearhead on it for a weapon. So obviously they're perhaps, you know, a type of magic user that can use weapons. Again, beautiful miniature. They tend to go full realistic scale. I'm not 100% sure what scale these guys are. I think they're 28. But I've heard them. Yeah, I think they're 28s. But obviously they're realistic 28, so they kind of got, you know, they're a little bit on the thin side, you could say, in comparison to some types of miniatures. Like, for instance, I know like Stargrave characters, for instance, are very, very bulky and would look a little odd, which is why I tend not to use any Stargrave figures as with core space. Then we've got three more characters to go, actually. Is that right? One, two. No, we've got 2 more characters to go. So here we have a kind of alien, one of the aliens. This guy's got blue skin. Obviously he's got a bow, and he kind of looks very sort of ranger-esque. A little bit of a bent arrow there. I suppose you could try and straighten that up if you wanted, but I probably wouldn't bother. But quite a nice miniature all the same. And finally we have, I presume this guy's going to be a sort of an assistant character. It seems to be like it kind of looks a little bit like Piglet, you know, from Winnie the Pooh. But he's got, I presume this guy's probably sort of like an assistant, I would have thought, rather than a main character. I could be wrong, but he's got a mace and he's carrying a lot of gear on his back. Perhaps I suppose, I don't know. Perhaps he's kind of like perhaps he's a thief type character. He's also got a scroll in his hand, so perhaps he could do magic. But anyway, he's quite cool. But like I say, I'm not 100% sure if he's a proper character or whether he's just like an assistant character. And finally, we have the male sort of fighter. And this guy here, a little bit of a bent sword, so perhaps I could dip that in some hot water and straighten it out properly. But again, it's not too bad. You could just leave it if you wanted. They are pretty sturdy, these guys. They're kind of made out of a pretty firm plastic, but their weapons have got some flex on them, so you know they're going to be very difficult to break. Yeah, really nice miniatures, and obviously that's the base game miniatures. Then we'll have a quick look at some of the Wandering Beasts. So, like I say, the Wandering Beasts come in a red colour. Again, I can't really remember the names of everything. I think this thing here, whoops, sorry about that, it's not the camera. I think this is the troglodyte, and this apparently wanders the board stealing loot. Then we have these little things here, which are kind of, I think these are called clankers. And they're kind of like a bit like a sort of cross between a spider and a scorpion, really. Or maybe a lobster. It actually looks quite a bit like a lobster. But these things are going to be this is 4 of them, so they're sort of, obviously they can swarm you, I guess. But they're quite cool. And the final Wandering Beast that you get in the base game is this kind of like a wolf on steroids type thing. You can see it's got like a very wolf-like head, but it's got a very sort of pumped up body. And no doubt it's like the equivalent of a wolf or something, but a wolf on steroids. I imagine that's pretty nasty to come across on. So that is that. So that's the basic miniatures. I will now head into the other sections of this particular tray. So here we have the pegs that are used to keep stuff on your character board. So we've got the usual colours. So we have black, blue, pink or red. Well, they're more sort of magenta, I'd say, and green. So they are your character board pegs. We then have the dice. These are again redesigned dice from the original core space. They're kind of like marbly in texture or in looks, and they look really nice. And they were first updated during Firstborn, and they've obviously continued the trend into this. And I think that's it actually. So the last two spots over here are the Kickstarter exclusive miniatures. So in this first bag here we have extra Wandering Monsters. So you actually got quite a bunch of extra miniatures. Now I think, I'm not 100%, I think all of these will become available at some point as to actually purchase, and that's what they tend to do, which is good really, because obviously it's horrible having exclusive miniatures that you can't get hold of yourself, especially when they can make, they open up the game so much. So you basically get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new Wandering Monsters. Let's bring that into shot. So starting off, this is the rock troll, which the undead troll things, the rock trolls, are based on. So it's basically more or less the same miniature, but obviously not rotten. It's quite a bulky thing actually. So that is the rock troll. You then have what's called a wandering bear, which is obviously like a giant great saber-toothed bear. These things are appearing on through my view screen like they're really, really dark. I don't know what they'll actually turn out like when they're actually when you actually watch it on a monitor. Hopefully brighter. But that is the wandering bear. You then get a worm, which strangely enough is pretty similar to the worms that you get in Firstborn actually, the earthworms, or the rock worms rather. This is a bloodworm though in this game. Obviously it's a little different. It's not exactly the same model. I think these guys are actually a lot thinner than the rock worms, which kind of, I think they actually resemble kind of like smaller versions of the dune worms. The rock worms from Firstborn. I haven't seen one for so long that I've kind of forgotten what they look like. But that is a bloodworm. You then have this creature called the Skinwalker. He is kind of, I guess he's got the ability to mimic people by sort of shape-shifting. And then we have this flying creature, which comes with its own little flying base, similar to the drones and the flying characters from Core Space and Firstborn. We have this thing called the Allery, which is kind of a strange creature. And then finally we have 4 more smaller critters, and these guys are called split-tailed rats, and you get 4 of them in a similar sort of way to the clankers. So that is the extra miniatures for or one of the sets of extra miniatures that you got from the Kickstarter. And like I say, they tend to, I'm sure these guys will be released in their own box set eventually. It wouldn't surprise me. They tend to do that. They're pretty good for, Battle Systems are pretty good for not making things exclusive. And then the second bag here is extra characters. So we get, again, you always get really good Kickstarter rewards from Battle System stuff. So you get another whole bunch of adventurers. There's actually quite a few of them here. But we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 more adventurers. I'll give you a sort of quick look at them. Obviously I don't remember their names. And I certainly I'm not sure of their classes. So here we have one of the aliens. He kind of looks a bit like a sort of a monk type character. So he's obviously got a weapon a bit like a chakra. He's got like a staff. We have this woman who's somebody the Contender, I think her name is. And she's got these 2 like I can't remember what they're called, but they're like again they're sort of like an ancient Chinese weapon. 2 big clubs with sort of like brass studs wrapped around the top. Yeah, she's quite a beast actually. Kind of like a muscle woman. And we have now these guys are strange. These kind of, you'd say when you first sort of look at this guy, you go, oh, it's a dwarf. But it's actually not a dwarf. It's a dwarf-esque type race because these guys have grey skin. But I suppose if you really wanted to, you could paint up as a, you give him fresh coloured flesh. You can do what you want really. You could make the grey face paint if you wanted, I suppose. But he is definitely dwarf-esque. Then we have a chap with, or rather a lady with, a hand crossbow and a kind of a short sword there. Also equipped with a normal bow as well, by the looks of it. Obviously, I'm not sure what sort of class she could be, perhaps. But again, very, very cool miniature. Then we have, I guess this guy's kind of like maybe he's like a rogue or a thief type guy. Again, alien. I'm not 100% sure what race of alien this guy is. But probably maybe the same type as the archer guy, so maybe blue skinned. I can't remember what they're called, they're the actual races. And then the final 3 I think are all human. So here we have a female character carrying some sort of staff, so perhaps she's like a magical user of some sort. Very cool miniature all the same. And then we have this guy. I think was one of my favourites when I first saw him. So here, this chap has it looks like a double-barreled pistol, sword, and it looks like he's got another couple of a sword and a dagger on his back as well. He's pretty cool. Again, I can't remember what type of character he's supposed to be, but he's very cool all the same. Definitely one of my favourites from the artwork. And finally, we have another sort of magic-y type user. I can't remember there's various types of classes that can use magic, I presume. There's not just a wizard or a cleric or whatever. There's like maybe 3 or 4 different classes of magic user, all with different names. So you can see he's got some squirrels on his back. He's obviously got a kind of wandy type stick. various bottles of potions and stuff like that on his belt. Pretty cool, all the same. So that is the extra miniatures that you get from the Kickstarter. And like I say, I'm pretty sure that these guys will be released in maybe 1 or 2 packs as like character packs. It really wouldn't surprise me. So that is all the extra figures. Just get the air out of the bag. Now obviously these guys, once you painted these guys up, you wouldn't want to keep them like this. So I'd probably transfer them to a really useful box, like I have done with my core space painted extra painted miniatures. And obviously these guys you can keep in the trays when they're painted. But that is all the figures and bits and pieces there. So get those out of the way. Go back to the box. What's next? So let's go for this bunch here next. So this is so let's first of all start with getting this tape off, because for the first time we've actually taped this down. These have been loose in both Core Space and Firstborn, and I seem to remember them saying that they came up with they're trying to come up with a way of sealing it down so it didn't get loose and rattle around the box, mainly for shipping. And the sort of production said, well, why don't we just put a bit of tape on it? It's like, yeah, okay, job done. So this thing that I'm pulling out here, this is the threat counter. So similar to all the Battle System games, the threat counter goes up during your adventure depending on all sorts of various reasons. Generally it goes up one a turn, but obviously there's cards that can trigger it. There's perhaps like getting into combat triggers it. There's all sorts of various ways it can be added to, and many less ways that it can be taken off of. But as you can see, I think this is long. I think this is longer than your average one. It does seem to be very long. Maybe that's due to the the sort of the hand-to-hand fighting aspect of the game, rather than being able to blast things from a quarter of the way across the board. So that is the threat counter. That is a standard. Here's one of the things that's Kickstarter exclusive. I think you do get a small pack of these reference cards in the retail version of the game, but one of the unlocks was to give you like a lot more reference cards for the Kickstarter, and as you can see, there's a fair bunch there. These are really handy, and they're first brought out during Firstborn. Firstborn. When they brought out cards showing you all the skills that you can have. And this is obviously a similar sort of thing. So it's the rules. It's kind of cheat boards, the rules, special rules, and obviously lots of other things too. So like here we've got NPC actions, stats, effects. So you get a hell of a lot more cards than you would. I think the retail version might come with like that many. Where these are the sort of Kickstarter ones, and again, it wouldn't surprise me if eventually they bring out this whole pack for you to buy if you wanted. So that's that. Then we have a special Maladum wipe on wipe-off pen. These are used for your character cards. When your character progresses, the boards are designed to be wipe on wipe off. So one of the Kickstarter things was a Maladum branded pen, and again that idea comes from the Firstborn, when I believe I've got a Firstborn version of the same pen. Okay, so that's that. Then we have your character boards. Now these are slightly redesigned in comparison to Firstborn and Core Space. I think these bits here are the extra bits. Other than that, they kind of look pretty similar. I think they could possibly be a little bit larger from watching a video. But obviously you get your 4 character boards there. Then you get something new, which is NPC boards. These are for the first time they've brought in these boards for NPCs. Generally NPCs would just run off their cards without the need of anything. But obviously these new boards allow you to have extra characters as actual proper NPCs with their own character boards, which is really cool. And of course they have got the clips on for expansion. They were introduced during Firstborn, where they brought out these clips that allow you to connect character boards together to add extra things to them. So that is the NPC boards. And then we have the actual what's the word? The event cards, I suppose you could call them. These obviously have things. You kind of pull one every turn, and it's got some kind of effect. This is obviously boosted out a little bit due to the extra things that you get in the Kickstarter excuse me. So that's that. That's the. Oh, and finally, of course, you have your clips for the tray, which will come across pretty soon. It's just under here. So yeah, you get a bag of clips, and these are slightly redesigned. They've apparently streamlined them down, so they should fit more snugly in your terrain and look even better. I think they kind of got rid of a lot of the sort of they used to stick out a little bit, and they originally did that for strength, and apparently they found out that they don't actually need them. They keep the same strength with that lip removed, so they've kind of redesigned. And that's that. That's all the components basically, apart from the sort of rule books and terrain. So let's get this stuff back in and get this out of the way. Kind of forgotten how it goes back together. There we go. That's it. And of course the threat tracker there. So that just goes on the side there. So now let's go, so lift out this bit of paper here, and then we start getting to the rule books and the terrain. So let's first of all get all the rule books out. We'll put those to the side for a second. So here we have the terrain. This is basically the base terrain. There's no extra stuff this time in the board game, I don't think. And maybe actually I think there's a couple of what's called hidden locations added to the Kickstarter. I'm not 100% sure whether it's part of the just being added to the terrain. But basically that's all the terrain you get. And obviously you fold it out and make it, and there's videos on YouTube on how to do that. Obviously I'm not going to make any of it now, but if you want me to sort of go through it, then just tell me. Actually, thinking about it, maybe there is some of the Kickstarter stuff in here, because I don't remember the Alien Adventure being in this set. Whoops, sorry about that. So that is the Yeah, the Vaults of Enveron it's called. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. Vaults of Enveron train. I think there could be a few extra sheets in there as well from the Kickstarter expansion. Finally, obviously before showing you the rulebooks, we have all of the counters and the character boards, etc, etc. So here we have a look at all the characters. So here is that weird guy that I said looked a bit like Piglet. He actually looks a little bit more like a sort of haggard goblin. He's called Grubbler. Very cool name. Then we have... no, actually he's called Great. So he's obviously, the race is Grubbler. Then we have an Eid, which are these blue skin characters. And this guy's called Sirio. Then we have Baron, the human. I think he's the wizard guy. There's the orc guy. He's called Grogmar, and he's obviously an Orman as the race. And you can kind of see he's actually not a little less orc-like than I thought. He's kind of like the only real sort of orc features are his ears and his colour of his skin, really. And he's got like a weird white beard. Or is that just a furry? I think it's a furry shirt. Then we have, here's the human Callan. He's kind of almost sort of Viking-esque. Then we have, it's a woman actually. It's Norinda, or no, Morana. Sorry. She's that human. Looks pretty cool. And finally, we have the sort of monkey character, monk that is rather, not monkey. Morana is her name, and that one's obviously Norinda. Yeah, so that's the characters there. You can see them, and then there's one of the classes there. These are the class boards, the double-sided. So obviously there's a class called Ranger. Here we go. Here's some of the classes. So there's Rogue, Soul Sword, Assassin, Barbarian, Rook, and Pymorist. So there's some quite interesting classes there. Like I said, they're double-sided, so I'm not sure if there'll be another 2, 4, 5, another 5 classes or 6 classes with the Ranger one at the bottom there. And obviously, like I say, in here you get your tokens and your equipment tokens and everything. I think there's an extra couple of sheets in there as well from the Kickstarter. I think there's like an extra, maybe 1 or 2 extra equipment tokens sets. So that is the sort of train taken care of. Next up, let's just move that out of the way. We have the rulebooks. So let's start off with. We get this. Read it first. Booklet. So this is obviously this was introduced during. Sorry, I'm starting to get a bit of a dry throat when talking. This is first introduced during Firstborn. And it's a really good idea. It's basically like a little rule book in its own right, giving you the basic rules, what everything is, how to set it up, how to play, enough to get you going in your first little game, and it also includes a little adventure, I believe, as well. It should do. Or maybe that's in the main rulebook, that particular map. But it basically gives you the sets you up to be able to play your first game, basically. So that is the read it first. Then we have the campaign book, so you get a full campaign in this set called the Dungeons of Enderon campaign, and there's quite a few adventures in here, as you can see. So it's quite a long campaign, maybe 12 scenarios, or maybe even more, and I think there's an extra 6 from perhaps the Kickstarter, unless of course they're in the other book. Yeah, there's actually, talking about stuff, there's that weird sort of grey dwarf I was telling you about. As you can see, he kind of looks like a dwarf, but he's not a dwarf. Obviously, his character board wasn't up first on the in the packaging there, so I can't tell you his race. Another book here. Before we get to the main rule book, this is the kind of the expansion booklet. Like I said, it kind of comes with its own expansion, which is kind of like, sorry, I have to move the camera. It's called Beyond the Vaults. It's basically a sort of overview of going into. It gives you all the extra terrain rules, stuff that comes in the other sets. Here's the sewers, the lava flow, how to use your fantasy village stuff with it as well, if you happen to have that stuff, and some extra rules and some extra maps, including a couple of double map setups here, using the two maps. That's actually 3 of those large map adventures, and then a couple more as well. So you get a decent amount of, especially giving you extra scenarios for using each of the different terrain packs as well, which is really good. One of the things I actually find quite difficult is when you come to try and make your own maps. Sometimes you don't really know where to start, and you can sit there for quite a long time thinking, oh, how I've got a blank map. How do I start? And I've got to admit, I haven't got much experience of designing my own maps. I tended to use like other maps and then modify them myself, to kind of make them my own maps. I've never actually created a map from scratch, and apparently the dungeon terrain is actually their most complex terrain to actually build, because of the sort of the ability to add extra layers and height to the dungeons, so I'll probably struggle with that for a little bit. I think it's definitely something you have to get used to. I mean, it could take you a long time to set up a game until you get properly used to how everything, how to identify the clips and how to sort of base everything, and sort of build it up. Now, finally, we have the main rulebook. Now, originally this was going to be a softback, and I'm not. I think this could be a Kickstarter exclusive, because I think the retail version comes with a softback. I'm not 100% sure. This was originally going to be a softback book as well, but again, due to the Kickstarter, they decided to expand and upgrade the book to a hardback, which is a really nice book, and this actually has extra stuff in comparison to the retail version book, rule book, and this I think has extra fluff and stuff. But as you can see, I know the company itself is really happy with the way this book came out, and obviously it is a beautiful book. There's definitely no doubt about that. Lots of artwork, lots of reference for painting stuff. The rules explained in detail. All stuff, background about all the characters. So perhaps we can find that dwarf guy. There he is. So they're called Dweller. Let me just bring it into view here. There you go. There's that weird dwarf guy. So I mean, they've got kind of like, I guess it's more sort of like bluey grey skin than actual grey skin. But yeah, you can see that they're called Dweller. And yeah, so that's really cool. It's always really interesting to have a background on characters. And then we have stuff on the actual world itself. In a chapter named The Law of Maladum. Then we have a nice map there. So that's really cool. I think that's the extra part. I think everything else is kind of in the sort of basic rulebook, but it's just that section that's exclusive to this rulebook. But yeah, really beautiful rulebook. I'd definitely say that if you're thinking about picking this up, try and get yourself the Kickstarter edition, because it's worth it to get this book. Now, when the original Core Space came out, that had a hardback Kickstarter rulebook, and they actually brought that out as a separate buy. So I'm not sure if they're going to do that for this. But it's like I say, if you're thinking about buying this game, then it's definitely worth trying to, especially now. I have seen versions coming up for sale from people that have obviously sort of changed their mind or kind of run out of room or whatever. Before the actual game arrived, and to say the truth, I don't really understand why you'd do that. Why would you get rid of this game when you could get rid of something else that you don't play and replace it with this? I mean, you've just waited 1.5 years for it. Why would you want to sell it straight away? But yeah, I mean, now is probably the best time to go hunting for it, because you're probably going to be able to pick it up for what it cost, and you're going to get a really good deal, because, like I say, the Kickstarter version is amazing. So that is that. That is the look at the Maladum starter box. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let's just put this all back. So as you can see, it all fits back pretty decently. Now obviously, eventually you put your that sort of holder together at the bottom of the box, and then finally the mat, terrain mat, and then lid back on, and job done. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm really looking forward to starting painting these miniatures. I'm probably going to just finish off a small bunch of Carthaginians I'm in the middle of doing before I start them. I'm one of those people that has difficulty changing projects in between. So I'll probably get to a point where I've maybe finished the last couple of sprees I'm doing on my Carthaginians before I start venturing into these guys. I don't think they're going to take a massive amount of extra time to paint. Maybe sort of like 2 or 3 weeks. If I sort of paint them every day. I seem to remember my Core Space guys only taking a couple of weeks to do. I think I painted up all of them. But yeah, so yeah, that's the end of this particular set. Look out for unboxings of everything else, and when I get to the point where perhaps I open up the terrain and stuff within the box, I'll perhaps do a little video showing you. Well, I suppose you see it in the dungeon set anyway, so there's no real point. But yeah, that's Maladum. Hope you enjoyed it, and catch you in the next one. Till then, bye bye.